But what about the fact that you just call this fellow a mamzer? So perhaps the answer is that yes, the mamzer defect or the mamzer title, it's definitely not a good one to have, has v'shalom, but bottom ritual is the result of sins committed by his parents, Sure, you may allege through Kabbalistic reasons that maybe, but bottom line, from the Gemara's perspective, you have the Talmid Chacham, that's the priority. But I'd like to bring to the Kahal's attention the following. But I'd like to bring to the Kahal's attention the following. And I've seen it, and I'm sure that many of you have seen it in the past, that Zecher Sadik Livracha, Hacham Rabbi Yosef Alav Shalom, in his synagogue, he will be the one receiving the aliyah of kohen. Now, let's continue, because Rabbeinu Obadiah says, Mipnei darkei shalom, where the darkei shalom protocol enters into this concept. So it says, Rabbeinu Obadiah of Bartenura, Demi de Oraita, from the Torah perspective, Yachol HaKohen latet reshut lemי שיעשה שיקרא בתורה לפניו. The Kohen says, thank you, Gabbai, thank you, Mesader, for inviting me to be Kohen. But you know what? I went up already the other day. I'm going to give my aliyah to my friend. That friend happens to be an Israel. O mipnei darkei shalom. So now suddenly the Kohen is going to determine who is going up to the Sefer. Maybe somebody went to the Gabbai earlier. I have your site, I need to go up. I'm sorry, aliyot were given. And it's going to create a disaster in the Kahal. And therefore the Mishnah writes, and Rabbeinu Obadiah explains, mipnei darkei shalom ikrahu belo iten reshut leacher. The Kohen cannot delegate his aliyah unless it's to a different Kohen. If the Kohen says to the Gabbai, thank you so much, but I'm going to go up next week that I have your side, please invite Mr. Cohen, in that case does not constitute any problem at all. And de la atel insuye, this way people understand. Right. And it says, Bela shena shabbatot o yamim tovim. And there is no difference halachically that we follow this protocol, or Monday and Thursday, le'olam kohen koreh rishon. Forever the Kohen will go first and does not give the aliyah to someone else. What about if there is no Kohen? There is no Kohen. You have Levi and Israel. For the Sephardic tradition, we say, Nitpareda ahabila. The package has been opened. So what do we do in our case? We do 3 Israel. We don't give priority to one Levi the way in some communities do. And another halakha we learn from this Mishnah, that in the event that there is a Kohen in the synagogue, but there is no Levi. So the halakha is that the Kohen goes up 2 aliyot together. One aliyah beracha before and after, next aliyah of Levi, beracha before and after. And we don't say, you know what, let's bring a different Kohen. Why we should give this Kohen 2 aliyot back to back? Give one Kohen, one aliyah, and another Kohen, the second aliyah. It says, Rabbeinu Obadiah Bartenura, shelo yehashduhu. It says that maybe the fear will be that people are going to say, oh, this Kohen was kosher only for one aliyah, but not for the second aliyah. So this way, according to our tradition, there is no a kohen in the synagogue, goes the Israel, 3 different aliyot, 3 different people. In the event that there is no Levi, the kohen automatically gets. And the second aliyah. Now, let's quickly now go to the Gemara. And obviously, we know the Gemara for a while. 1 second, somebody's bringing a coffee. Let's remove the camera, Emilio. Thank you, Mommy. My mother delivered me a coffee. This is a special treatment. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyah v'tbarach. I put it on the spot without asking permission, so I'll tilt the camera for 3 seconds. Anyways, let's go to the Gemara. We know the Gemara always asks questions. Mena hane mille. Where do we learn that we really need to give to the kohen such a tremendous amount of honor? You give him first, and you give him double, and he cannot delegate. And says the Gemara, several proofs. One pasuk says in Sefer Devarim, in the name of Rabbi Batya, "Vayichtov Moshe et Torah zot vayitena lekohanim bnei Levi." Moshe gave the Torah and gave it to the Kohanim, the son of the Leviim. As the Gemara, Atu Ana Yadana, if you ask a child that learns in the Talmud Torah, ask him where the Kohanim come from. If he learns Perasha, he'll tell you Leviim. So why the Torah needs to tell me Kohen, son of Levi? Of course Kohanim are son of the Leviim. So it says the Gemara, lo, the Torah is telling us already the order. First goes Kohen, then goes Levi. Rav Yitzhak Nafha brings another. Beni Geshua Kohanim, Bene Levi. Again, a different verse that says Kohanim. Rav Ashe says, Bene Amram Aharon Moshe, Vaibadel Aharon lehagdisho Kodesh Kodashim. The sons of Amram, Moshe and Aharon, and Aharon was separated, and he was appointed to serve in the Kodesh HaKodashim, and who was the only person in Am Israel that will work in the Kodesh HaKodashim, only the Kohen Gadol. Rab Chia Barabba says, one more source, Bekidashto, and you will sanctify the Kohen, lechol dabar sheba kedusha, anything that has related to holiness. And the Gemara goes further in the name of Rabbi Ishmael, Liftovah Rishon, he is the one who gives the honor to go to the first Aliyah, or if there is a gathering of Hachamim, the Kohen Talmid Hacham is Rishon, Ulbarech Rishon, and when it comes to Zimun, a Kohen Talmid Hacham is given the honor to lead the Birkat Hamazon, Litol Mana Yafa, and also honor the Kohen to serve himself first. So this way, he's able to get the nicest piece of whatever it is on the tray. As the Gemara, Amar le Abaye le Rabbi Yosef, if you're telling me that giving the honor to the Kohen is a darke shalom, yani in order to preserve the peace, it says in order to preserve the peace, the oraitahi, based on all of the hachamim that we quoted, Rav Matna, Rabbi Ishak, Rabbi Ashe, Rabbi Hiya, and Rabbi Ishmael, they all brought proofs of the Torah. Why do you say, no, for the sake of peace? And says the Gemara, de oraita, mi pene darke shalom. It says, you know what is the biblical commandment? To preserve the peace. To preserve the peace. You know, I may have said this in the past. I'm not sure if you followed the news from Israel yesterday. If I understood correctly, I read the news in Portuguese, but I think my Portuguese is good enough. that in the parking lot of a hospital in Jerusalem, there was a sinkhole. And there was a miracle that, thank God, there were no casualties. I'm not sure if cars were parked, but I did see pictures of the opening, and I was thinking, what a divine providence that this situation of yesterday in Jerusalem is found in this week's Torah portion. When the Torah tells us about the rebellion of Korah against Moshe, you know how they died? By Batiftah ha'adama et piha. The earth opened up its mouth, a sinkhole. Vayeredu chaim she'ola, and they went down to the bottom. And what prompted all that? Mahloket. That's what happened with Korah. So what the Gemara says, don't think that Darkei Shalom is cute and something nice to do. It actually carries a biblical power, a deoraita power, to make adjustments. As the Gemara says, hold on a minute, is this only place in the entire Torah that for the sake of peace we make adjustments? Abaye says, Kol Torah kula mipnei darkei shalom. The entire aspects of the Torah is only to preserve and to increase the peace among people. Shene'emar deracheha darchei noam. The ways of the Torah are pleasant. Bechol netiboteha shalom. And every roadway that comes from the Torah is in order to preserve the peace among people. What a powerful message from today's Gemara. Okay. Let's go a few more lines before we go quickly to the Musar of today. The Tanya. Now the Gemara is going to bring interesting small items concerning peace and people. So they're not small, but they come from a Tosefta called Masechet Derech Eres. And we know what it means. Derech Eres, although means the ways of the world, but usually when we say Derech Eres is the etiquette, so to speak, the proper behavior to have. So the Gemara quotes this Masechet Derech Eretz, and it says, Shenaim, two people that were eating together, Mamtinim ze lazeh, you should wait for each other in order to start eating. Shelosha, but if three people are sitting together and one is running late or one had to step out, en mamtinim, we don't wait. Haboseya, the person who makes the beracha of hamotzi, who poshet yado tehila, he is the one that serves himself first in order to put something on the bread. Beimba, but if the one saying the blessing, he wants to give kavod to his rabbi, or to the one bigger, let's say your father is in front of you, or your grandfather is in front of you, hareshud beyado. This refers that the one who is honored with the beracha, meaning to say the head of the household, can determine to do that or not. Amar Rabbi Barhana lo shanu ela besauda. We're talking about in a small group of people. Aval, when it comes to the Keria of the Sefer Torah, in the Bet Knesset, the kohen cannot, that's what we read before in the name of Rabino of Aventura, the kohen cannot be the one to determine, you know what, I don't want to go up today, give it to someone else. And it says that even this halakha, although there were different opinions, bottom line, the kohen does not delegate any aliyah whatsoever, and the rest of the Gemara I already mentioned in the name of Rabbi Obadiah of Bartenura. Let's go. Let me find the right page here. Let's go quickly to the Musar of today. Although the topic seems to be not related to the Gemara, but I believe, and I'm sure many of you will, I believe that is directly connected to the Gemara of today. Kelalo shel Chokhmah, one of the most fundamental foundations of wisdom, shetika, quiet, stay quiet, don't say a word. The way the Gemara writes in Masechet Megillah, I spoke, Ani shalitu Moshe al devarai, I'm the leader and I'm the king of my words, of my silence. In Spanish, there is a similar statement, obviously as the Sefer Hasidim said so beautifully, once the words came out, there is no way to bring them back. But as long as the word stays inside of me, I'm in control of the situation. And that's, we need to understand, Kahal Kadosh, that how many times the wrong words can create a disaster in the life of the person. Continue Sefer Hasidim. Benatan lecha rachamim berihamcha. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says, you will give compassion and you will be compassionate. What does it mean? So the Gemara explains, sheterachem al haberiot, a person must display compassion towards people, because this is part of the DNA of the Jewish people. Rahmanim, we are compassionate. So it says in Gemara further, what's the meaning of Berihamcha? She'rahamim, she'irachem Hashem alecha. It says God, Hashem, reciprocates the compassion that we display towards others. And that's why the Gemara writes, Kol merachem ala beriot. You want to activate the heavenly compassion upon us, upon our families, etc. Have rahamim upon others. Beim en adam merachem. But if the person, God forbid, becomes very selfish and doesn't display any kind of mercy, etc., ma hebdel beno, and doesn't display any kind of mercy, etc., ma hebdel beno leben behema. God forbid, what's the difference between a person and an animal? Animals don't have rahamim. Many of them don't. Many of them actually, they are the opposite of kindness. Remember, there was a bird, Hasidah leminah. It's a bird, the ostrich, I think it's called. And you're not allowed to eat it. It's not a kosher bird. Why not? Her name is Hasidah, Hasid. But the Torah says, sure, leminah. She only cares about her own type and no one else's. Comes further. Amari Hacham. He does not say who is this Hacham. Could be Shlomo HaMelech or could be another Hacham. And it says, The person that fights with people, zoreya et hasin'ah, he's planting hatred. But eventually, hopefully, the person will learn how to realize that how negative is to argue and to fight. And it says, what's the best idea? It seems to say, get angry, fight with people, and eventually you're going to do teshuvah. But says Sefer Hasidim, that's not. It says, amten me'at, stanna shwaya, yani exercise self-control upon yourself, ve'lo titharet, and if you exercise self-control, you will not come to argue. You will not come to argue, you will not fight with people. And if you're not going to fight with people, you're going to be in peace and harmony with people. Another message from the Musar of today, it's about lesanut. Lesanut means mockery, scoffing, cracking jokes constantly, laughing at people, making funny comments about people. From the Musar of today says that is not a good personality to have. In other words, sure, it's good to make people laugh. But if you're going to make people laugh at the expenses of others, or to make certain kind of jokes and comments which are not really appropriate, it says this type of behavior, for sure, it affects the Yirat Shamayim of the person. And actually, Hashem and this fellow keep a certain distance. And again, let's clarify, we're not against people laughing. We're not against people having a good time. But a person needs to know, like in the words we mentioned, or anger, we say, exercise self-control. Even if you're going to say something funny, make sure that nobody's going to get offended. Make sure nobody's going to get insulted. Regretfully, I'm telling you from professional experience that these things do happen. Sometimes people come from different background and they may have a different way of talking and relating with people, etc. And therefore, the Musar of today says, just be careful of the way you act, especially in the concept of letzanut, etc. And the final, it says, a person wants to make peace with another person, but for some reason it's not doable, or it's not happening, or the person is having a hard time confronting this situation with a fellow Jew. It says the Musar of today, metaken beno leben habore. It says try to make an effort to enhance our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it says Sefer Hasidim, when we individually or collectively enhance our relationship or reinforce or strengthen our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Borei Olam takes that extra effort that we are making to get close to Him and bounces part of it to the fellow that we had an issue with. And Borei Olam somehow, somewhere creates this miracle that these two people that were far away, not talking, not seeing each other, etc., because of the teshuvah that one of them did on different matters, Borei Olam shortens and reignites the friendship and the relationship ben adam le'atzmo and ben adam la'havero. As Shlomo HaMelech says, Birsot Hashem darchei ish. When God is pleased with the ways of the person, gam oyevav yashlim ito. Even his enemies will make peace with the person. My dear friends, I say today, great day to everybody. We wish aslaha to everyone. We say tizke lamizvot to the generous sponsors of today's class, and we're going to be getting ready in 45 minutes for the Tuesday morning Spanish class in the book chapter 101. So for the Spanish crowd, nos vemos en 45 minutos. And for the English-speaking crowd, we'll see you tomorrow, Be'ezat Hashem, same hour, via iTorah.com. Have a great day, everyone. Shalom u'bracha tova.